So, hello dear student. Today we are going to study neural control and coordination. In this chapter, we are going to cover these four topics: neural system, human neural system, neuron as structural and functional unit of neural system, central neural system. As you know, the function of the organs or organ systems in our body must be coordinated to maintain homeostasis. Coordination is a process through which two or more organs interact and complement the function of one another. For example, when we do physical exercises, the energy demand is increased for maintaining an increased muscular activity. The supply of oxygen is also increased. The increased supply of oxygen necessitates an increase in the rate of respiration, heartbeat, and increased blood flow via blood vessels. When physical exercise is stopped, the activities of nerves, lungs, heart, kidneys gradually return to their normal condition. Thus, the function of muscle, lung, heart, blood vessel, kidney, and other organs are coordinated while performing physical exercises. In our body, the neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinate and integrate all the activities of the organs so that they function in a synchronized fashion. The neural system provides an organized network of point to point connection for a quick coordination. In the endocrine system provides the chemical integration through hormones. In this chapter, you will learn about the neural system of human mechanism of neural coordination, like transmission of nerve impulse and impulse conduction across a synapse. Neural system. The neural system of all animals is composed of highly specialized cells called neurons, which can detect, receive, and transmit different kind of stimuli. The neural organization is very simple in lower invertebrates. For example, in Hydra, it is composed of a network of neurons. The neural system is better organized in insects, where a brain is present along with number of ganglia and neural tissues. The vertebrates have a more developed neural system. Human neural system. The human neural system is divided into two parts: the central neural system and peripheral neural system. The central neural system includes the brain and the spinal cord and is the site of information processing and control. The PNS means peripheral neural system of all nerves of the body associated with CNS means central neural system, brain and spinal cord. The nerve fibers of PNS are of two types: afferent and apparent. The afferent nerve fiber transmit impulses from tissues or organs to the CNS, and the afferent fiber transmit regulatory impulses from the CNS to the concerned peripheral tissues or organ. The PNS is divided into two divisions called somatic neural system and autonomic neural system. The somatic neural system relays impulses from the CNS to skeletal muscle, while the autonomic neural system transmits impulses from the CNS to the involuntary organs and smooth muscles of the body. The autonomic neural system is further classified into sympathetic neural system and parasympathetic neural system. Vascular nervous system is a part of peripheral nervous system that comprises the whole complex of nerve, fiber, ganglion, plexus, plex axis by which impulses travel from the central nervous system to the viscera and the viscera to the central nervous system. Neuron is structural and functional unit of neural system. A neuron is a microscopic structure composed of three major parts, namely cell body, dendrites, and axon. The cell body contains cytoplasm with the typical cell organelles and certain granular bodies called nests. Granules, short fibers which branch repeatedly and project out of cell body, also contain nest granules are called dendrites. These are dendrites. These fiber transmit impulse toward the cell body. The axon is a long fiber at the distal end of which is branch. Each branch terminates as a bulb-like structure called synaptic knob. which possesses a synaptic vesicle containing chemical called neurotransmitters. The axon transmit nerve impulses always from the cell body to a synapse or to a neuromuscular junction. Based on the number of axon and dendrite, the neurons are divided into three types: multipolar with one axon and two or more dendrites found in the cerebral cortex, bipolar with one axon and one dendrite found in the retina of eye, and unipolar cell body with one axon only found usually in the embryonic stage. There are two types of axon, namely myelinated and non-myelinated. The myelinated nerve fibers are enveloped in swans with swan cells which form a myelin sheath around the axon. The gaps between two adjacent myelin sheaths are called nodes of Ranvier. Myelinated nerve fibers are found in a spinal and cranial nerves. Unmyelinated nerve fiber is enclosed by a swan cell that does not form a myelin sheath around the axon and is commonly found in autonomous and somatic neural system. Generation and conduction of nerve impulse. Neurons are excitable cells because their membranes are in a polarized state. Do you know why the membrane of neuron is polarized? Different types of ion channels are present to the neural membrane. These ion channels are selectively permeable to different ions. When a neuron is not conducting any impulse, it means resting. The axonal membrane is comparatively more permeable to potassium ions, K plus, and nearly impermeable to sodium ions. Similarly, the membrane is impermeable to negatively charged proteins and permeable uh, protein present in the exoplasm. Consequently, the exoplasm inside the axon contains high concentrations of K plus and negatively charged protein and low concentration of Na plus. In contrast, fluid outside the axon contain a low concentration of K plus and high concentration of Na plus and thus form a concentration gradient. These ionic gradient across the resting membrane are maintained by the active transport of ions by the sodium potassium pump, which transports free Na plus toward outward into K plus into the cell. As a result, the outer surface of the axonal membrane possesses a positive charge while its inner surface becomes negatively charged and therefore is polarized. The electrical potential difference across the resting plasma membrane is called as resting potential. You might be curious to know about the mechanism of generation of nerve impulse and its conduction along and what is when a stimulus is applied at a site on the polarized membrane. The membrane at the site A becomes freely permeable to Na plus. This led to a rapid influx of Na plus followed by reversal of the polarity at that side. It means the outer surface of membrane becomes negatively charged and the inner side becomes positively charged. The polarity of the membrane at the site A is thus reversed and hence depolarized. The electrical potential difference across the plasma membrane at the site A is called action potential, which is in fact termed as nerve impulse. At sites immediately ahead the axon, for example, side B membrane has a positive charge on the outer surface and a negative charge in its inner surface. As a result, current flows on the inner surface from site A to site B. On the outer surface, current flows from site B to site A to complete the circuit of current flow. Hence, polarity at the site is reversed and an action potential is generated at site B. Thus, the impulse action potential generated at site A arrives at site B. The sequence is repeated along the length of the axon and consequently the impulse is conducted. The rise in the stimulus induced permeability of Na plus is extremely short lived. It is quickly followed by a rise in permeability of K plus. Within a fraction of a second, K plus diffuses outside the membrane, restores the resting potential of the membrane at the site of excitation, and the fiber becomes once more responsive to the further stimulation. Transmission of impulses. A nerve impulse is transmitted from one neuron to another through a junction called synapses. A synapse is formed by the membrane of presynaptic neuron and a postsynaptic neuron, which may or may not be separated by a gap called synaptic cleft. There are two types of synapses, namely electric synapses and chemical synapses. At electrical synapses, the membrane of pre and postsynaptic neurons are in very close proximity. Electrical current can flow directly from one neuron into the other across these synapses. Transmission of an impulse across electrical synapses is very similar to impulse conduction along a single axon. Impulse transmission across an electrical synapse is always faster than that across a chemical synapse. Electrical synapses are rare in our system. At a chemical synapse, the membranes of pre and post synaptic neurons are separated by a fluid filled space called synaptic cleft. Do you know how the presynaptic neuron transmit the impulse action potential along the synaptic cleft to the post synaptic neuron? Chemicals called neurotransmitters are involved in the transmission of impulses at these synapses. The axon terminal contain vesicles filled with these neurotransmitters. When an impulse action potential arrives at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of synaptic vesicle toward the membrane where they fuse with the plasma membrane and release their neurotransmitters in synaptic cleft. The released neurotransmitter bind to their specific receptor present on the postsynaptic membrane. This binding opens ion channel, allowing the entry of ions which can generate a new potential in the postsynaptic neuron. The new potential developed may be either excitatory or inhibitory. Central neural system. The brain is central information processing organ of our body and act as command and control system. It controls the voluntary movement, balance of the body, functioning of vital voluntary organs, for example, lung, heart, kidneys, etc., thermoregulation, hunger and thirst. Circadian 24-hour rhythm of our body, activities of several endocrine glands, and human behavior. It is also the site for processing of vision, hearing, speech, memory, intelligence, emotions, and thoughts. The human brain is well protected by skull. Inside the skull, the brain is covered by cranial meninges consisting of an outer layer called dura mater, a very thin middle layer called arachnoid, and an inner layer which is in contact with the brain tissue called pia mater. The membrane can be divided into three major parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. This part is cerebrum. This is cerebral hemisphere. This is corpus callosum. This is cerebral aqueduct. This is midbrain, and this is hindbrain that consists of pons, cerebrum, cerebellum, and medulla. No, sorry, this medulla and this is spinal cord. Here it starts spinal cord from here. And forebrain consists of thalamus, hypothalamus, forebrain. The forebrain consists of cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, figure 18.4. This diagram form the major part of the human brain. A deep cleft divides the cerebrum longitudinally into two halves, which are termed as the left and right cerebral hemisphere. The hemispheres are connected by a tract of nerve fiber called corpus callosum. The layer of cells which cover the cerebral hemisphere is called cerebral cortex and is thrown into prominent folds. The cerebral cortex is referred to as the gray matter due to its grayish appearance. The neuron cell bodies are concentrated here, giving it the color. The cerebral cortex contains motor areas and sensory or areas, large regions that are neither clearly sensory nor motor in function. These regions are called association areas, are responsible for complex function like intersensory association, memory, and communication. Fibers of the tract are covered with the myelin sheath, which constitute the inner part of cerebral hemisphere. They give an opaque white appearance to the layer and hence is called the white matter. The cerebrum wraps around a structure called thalamus, which is a major coordinating center for sensory and motor signaling. Another very important part of the brain called hypothalamus lies at the base of the thalamus. The hypothalamus contains a number of centers which control body temperature, urge for eating and drinking. It also contains several groups of neurosecretory cells which secrete hormones called hypothalamic hormone, the inner part of cerebral hemisphere, and a group of associated deep structure like amygdala, hippocampus, etc. form a complex structure called limbic lobe or limbic system. Along with the hypothalamus, it is invoked in the regulation of sexual behavior, expression of emotional reaction, excitement, pleasure, rage and fear, and motivation. Midbrain. The midbrain is located between and thalamus or hypothalamus of the forebrain and pons of the hindbrain. A canal called cerebral aqueduct passes through the midbrain. The dorsal portion of midbrain consists mainly of four round swellings, lobes called corpora quadrigemina. Hindbrain. The hindbrain comprises pons, cerebellum, medulla, also called medulla oblongata. Pons consist of fiber tract that interconnect different regions of the brain. Cerebellum has a very convoluted surface in order to provide the additional space for many more neurons. The medulla of the brain is connected to the spinal cord. The medulla contains centers which control respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, and gastric secretions. Three major regions make up the brain stem: midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. Brain stem form the connection between the brain and spinal cord. Summary: the neural system coordinates the integrates function as well as metabolic and homeostasis static activities of all organs. Neuron, the functional units of neural system, are excitable cells due to a different concentration gradient of ions across the membrane. The electrical potential difference across the resting neural membrane is called the resting potential. The nerve impulse is conducted along with the axon membrane in the form of wave of depolarization, and repolarization is synapses formed by the membranes of presynaptic neuron and postsynaptic neuron, which may or may not be separated by a gap called synaptic cleft. Chemicals involved in the transmission of impulses at a chemical synapse are called neurotransmitters. Human neural system consists of two parts: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system consists of and a spiral cord and brain. The brain can be divided into three major parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. The forebrain consists of cerebellum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. The cerebellum is longitudinally divided into two halves that are connected by the corpus callosum. A very important part of forebrain called hypothalamus control the body temperature, eating and drinking. Inner parts of cerebral hemisphere and a group of associated deep structure form a complex structure called limbic system, which is concerned with olfactic, autonomic responses, regulation of sexual behavior, expression of emotional reaction, and motivation. The midbrain receives the integrate visual, tactile, and auditory input. The hindbrain comprises pons, cerebellum, medulla. The cerebellum integrates information received from the semicircular canals of the ear and the auditory system. The medulla contains centers which control respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, and gastric secretion. Pons consist of fiber tract that interconnect different regions of the brain. So our chapter is finished. Thanks.